There's a reason why we gravitate towards found family in media. There's just something about watching a group of people who aren't related by blood come together and form a bond and create their own family, one that is made by choice and built on respect. Not an accident of birth. Maybe it's rooted in the fact that some of us have blood family that we don't see eye to eye with. Or maybe it's because we have friends who have become more than friends and are now family. Either way, there is something that resonates within us all when we consume found family in media. Today's episode of Book to Drama, we'll be looking at found family in books and in Asian dramas, to be more specific, KDramas. If you're new to my channel, hello, I'm Noria, a bookworm and a nerd. I talk about books a lot on my channel, so if that's something you're into, check out my other videos, and if you like what you see, hit subscribe. But I also have other interests outside of books which I talk about as well, and one of those interests is Asian dramas. And on Book to Drama, I talk about book tropes I love and books that have these tropes, and Asian dramas that also have these tropes as well. A kind of, if you like this trope, you will love this book and love this drama. If you have a trope you want me to explore, please drop it on the comment right now. So, found family. To start off, let's examine the definition of found family, also known as families of choice, which is a trope that is associated with ensemble casts and groups. It involves two or more people choosing to treat one another as family in an emotional sense, and we've seen it a lot in movies and in TV shows, sometimes done brilliantly well and sometimes done not so well. But what about books? The first book that I always refer to when I'm looking at the found family trope is Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo. We have a group of misfits brought together by a criminal prodigy, each with their own skills and abilities to plan and execute the heist of a lifetime. It's Ocean's 11 YA Fantasy Edition. But what drives home the theme of found family in this book, this duology actually, is that you have these characters who ideally should not get along and ideally should not be working together. But they all have a common goal for various reasons, and it is in working towards that goal that they become allies and then eventually family. Family who would defend one of their own from an abusive father in one instance, and then come together to defend another member's father from harm in another. Yes, their bonds were birthed in trickery. Yes, they have to face a tragedy, but they are a family. The same can be said for Roshani Chokshi's The Gilded Wolves, which takes place in 1889 Paris and is thus inspired by the Belle Epoque era and follows wealthy hotelier, disgraced heir and treasure hunter Severin, who puts together a team to find the ultimate treasure. It's a novel that might have some similarities with Six of Crows in that a heist is attempted, but both books and both stories stand on their own merit. And although the Wolves team isn't as much a family as Bardugo's dregs, at least as of the first book, the found family in this book is explored in the relationship between Severin and Tristan, both boys raised in an abusive foster care system who forge familiar bonds and become brothers in everything but blood. It is this relationship that drives Tristan and is crucial to his development as a character in the book, and is also what makes the ending as heartbreaking as it is shocking. But family isn't only about those with whom we plot to rob a deserving capitalist and oppressive system. Family can also be found in the bond that tied together a centuries-old monster killer, a girl who is both heir to elven power and an empire, and one of the greatest sorceresses the world has ever seen. Yes, Andrzej Sapkowski explored found family in the Witcher series, in the relationship between Ciri and Geralt, Ciri and Yennefer, and Ciri, Geralt, and Yennefer. There is also found family present in the Witches as a group, as a unit, and being able to see their life at Kaer Morhen further drives home the fact that witches are more than just mutated humans with the ability to harness chaos to kill monsters. They are also a family, one birth in pain, blood, and monsters. It's something else that calls to me about the series, alongside its brilliance as dark European fantasy filled with supernatural creatures and characters of the wazoo. Another book that explores a group of people who are united in power to defeat a big evil and from therein develop bonds and become a family in their own right has to be Nnedi Okorafor's Akata Witch, as we observe Sunny, Orlu, Chichi, and Sasha, who are in various stages of being outcast by society and who find comfort in each other and familiar bonds in their relationships as they develop their powers and come together to defeat the evil being in the book. And then there are books that explore found family in space, which in itself is expected. After all, finding yourself in close quarters with others for an extended period of time does bonds closer than friendship build, as is the case with Becky Chambers' The Long Way to an Angry Planet, which has our Wayfarer crew, a crew that is diverse in differences and species, becoming closer and ultimately a family on their one-year journey towards fulfilling their assignment of drilling wormholes in space, all the while dealing with many dangers. because nothing builds a family bond like deadly assignments, deadly plots, and the enclosed space of a spaceship. And finally, the last book on the list is KDrama's The Weight of the Stars, which sees two girls find friendship and fall in love whilst looking at the stars. Because we can't talk about found family and not address its significance to queer relationships and friendships, because
Mother of the Year goes to my sister, Blanca Evangelista.
Of the fact that most LGBTQ plus folks create secondary families outside our biological family where we feel seen and loved without any judgment or expectations to conform. But the chosen family in The Weight of the Stars is not in the relationship between Ryan and Alexandria, but rather in the relationship between Ryan and her friends, a group of different characters, each with their individual emotions, pains, struggles, and scars, who Ryan then brings together to form a friendship and ultimately a family. It is to this group that Alexandria is welcomed, and she does fit in beautifully well. It is a beautiful story about love, love for the stars, love for a missing mother, love for family, love for friends. It's about the many things that make us family even with our differences. And now moving on to the K-drama part of the video with the drama series that defines this trope, the Reply series, also called the Answer Me series. So far, there are 3 entries in the series: Reply 1997, which came first, then Reply 1994, and after that, Reply 1988. Each of these series are standalones with individual characters and separate plots, but there are little nods from characters in previous reiteration that show up in the new ones. The Reply series examines friendships and family and neighbors set within the context of the age, rich in pop culture references and highlighting and exploring major events of the time with a coming-of-age story at its core. Whether we are looking at how high school classmates and neighbors become family in 1997, or looking at university students who find themselves living in a boarding house and who then become a family in 1994, or watching neighbors in 1988 grow into adulthood, come into their own, find love, and be a family. And all of this is set against love triangles that would have you wondering and trying to guess exactly who the lead character will end up with. Yes, there will be a love triangle video coming in the future, stay tuned for that. Then there's the slice of life drama Age of Youth, also called Hello My 20s, where we follow 5 girls of varying ages in their 20s, from Yoonjin Myung's 28-year-old character who is juggling with being a business major and working full-time, to Jung Ye-hyun's struggle with her religious beliefs at 22, to Song Ji-won's quirky 22-year-old self who likes to joke and claims to see ghosts, to Kang Gi-na, 24, with expensive taste, living as a sugar baby, to Yoo Hyun-jae, who is the youngest of the bunch at 20, shy and introverted, who the girls pull out of her shell. The girls are flatmates who face the problems of everyday life together and examine what it means to be a youth in their generation. We watch them deal with love and life, and at the end of the story, grow as individuals and become a true family. And this is also replicated in the 2nd season of the show as well. If you want a story with a slightly older cast, however, prove that you can find your friends and family at an older age, there's the Avengers Social Club, which has Lee Yo-won, Rami Ran, and Myung Se-bin. 3 women who come from different points of the social strata to enact revenge on those who have wronged them, and in executing their revenge, develop a friendship and then become their own support group and family. Ong Do-hee is an Ajuma running a fish store whose son is bullied by his more wealthier classmates and is on the verge of being expelled when he finally fights back. Kim Jong-ye, who is the sheltered daughter of a chaebol family, finds out that her husband's been cheating on her, and Lee Mi-suk, a housewife who grew up an orphan and is desperately in need of a family, suffers physical and emotional abuse at the hands of her husband. Watching these 3 women create the Bukja Club and seeing them root for one another and encourage one another was such a joy to watch. And then when Lee So-gyeom joins the trio and they become a quartet, it was an utter delight. It is short but impactful, and I definitely highly recommend. For a much more older cast who have been friends and confidants for decades of their lives, whose relationship has long since gone beyond friendship to family, there's Dear My Friends, which is a drama that will have you smiling and crying in equal measure as you watch these friends in the twilight years of their lives show that when you found your tribe, they will stay with you through it all, through the ups and downs. You will spend decades laughing together and crying together and being a family to one another. Trigger warning though for a character slowly dealing with the loss of a memory, which is portrayed in a way that would break your heart into smithereens. Like I said, you will need those tissues. Also, it has Join Song, which I always approve of. If however you want something darker and much grittier with an ensemble cast with differing interests coming together for a common goal, check out Bad Guys, which brings together a group of criminals, a psychopath with a Mensa membership, an IQ of 165, and multiple doctorate degrees, a mob boss who fought his way to the top of the chain in a 25-day bloody takeover, and a hired assassin who suddenly confessed and turned himself in to the police after his spotless career of killing and never getting caught, who are put together in a team headed by a disgraced cop with anger issues who hasn't processed the death of his daughter and who isn't afraid to use any means necessary to achieve his goals, and an ambitious police inspector who wants to prove herself. The team has one job, which is to catch criminals who are so much worse than they are. It's an OCN classic, which means that it's gritty, with a ton of fight choreography, so much blood, and an examination of the seedy underbelly of society. There's human trafficking, there's the selling of human body parts, a lot of trigger warnings. But these characters, who at first have no reason to like one another or trust one another, become their own family and their own defenders, and watching them come together for Lee Jung-moon was so satisfying and beautiful to watch. It is brilliant and amazing, and yes, season 1 is the superior season and has the superior cast. You can also check out The Untamed, which is a Chinese drama based off of the BL novel Modal Zushi, translated as the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, where we follow Wei Wuxian, a cultivator who turns to the demonic arts for reasons, justified reasons. Trust me, he has reasons. And his soulmate, Lang Wangji, as they solve mysteries, try to survive in a world where most of the other cultivators are gullible idiots obsessed with consistently painting Wei Wuxian, who is also the Yilin patriarch, as being a bad guy. Yes, I absolutely adore this drama. Wei Wuxian can't do any wrong in my eyes. Lang Wangji is the very epitome of pining lover and superior husband. But also, this does have a lot of found family themes. In Wei Wuxian's relationship with the Wen clan, in Lang Wangji's relationship with Sisui, who he literally found, and in the way the newer sect of land disciples tailed after Wei Wuxian and Lang Wangji like they are their honorary parents. And even in Wei Wuxian's relationship with Wenning, this drama is littered all the way through with the found family trope. Highly recommend. Then there's the honorary mentions of Hila, with Hila's relationship with Cdrama, the relationship between the original 5 of the illegal radio broadcast and between the present unit of Hila, Che Yongshin, Kim Moon-ho, and Cdrama. There's the Goblin and the relationship between the Goblin, the Grim Reaper, Ji Hyun-tak, and Yudokwa. P.S. This is my favorite drama of all time, just putting it out there. There's also the gang at Hotel de Luna becoming a family as they help move the dead onto the afterlife. There's the Coffee Prince crew. Yes, that is Gong Yu again. I would die for that man. And finally, the bonds between the characters of Jang Jae-yeol, Ji Hae-soo, Jo Dong-min, and Park So-kwang in It's Okay, That's Love, living in a shared space as together they deal with the discrimination and social stigma that they face as people with mental illness. Of course, Jo In-sung also shows up twice. He is a fave. And that is the end of today's episode of Book to Drama. If you stayed to the end, thank you. To let me know that you did, please drop happy birthday in the comments, as I'm filming this during my birthday weekend, and because I'm currently on medication, I can't have any cake, which absolutely breaks my heart. So leave me a happy birthday in the comment with a cake emoji so I know you got to the very end of this video. If you like this, please do not forget to give it a big thumbs up, check out my other videos, subscribe if you want to, and if you do decide to subscribe, please click on that notification bell so you can know the minute I have a new video go up. I make new videos every Wednesdays and Sundays at 2 p.m. EST. Yes, that's 2 p.m. EST, and I'll see you soon. Until then, stay passionate, love books and dramas. Love yourself. Bye.